This video is a follow-on to looking at simple harmonic motion. In the previous video, we discovered that the acceleration of an object undergoing simple harmonic motion is directly proportional to the displacement of that object, but in the opposite direction. Okay, and this is important. It's linked. So simple harmonic motion is linked to circular motion. So this is what would be the equivalent angular velocity. So if you want to look at that, look at the last video. In this video, we're going to look at two examples of objects undergoing SHM. That's a pendulum and then a mass spring system. Okay, so the pendulum. There's a lot to discuss before we think about this pendulum. So firstly, when I talk about a pendulum, I mean a very simple pendulum where the string that's attaching a mass to it is light, meaning it's got no mass to it, and it's inextensible, it's not going to stretch, okay? And the mass itself is not some sort of complex shape with a centre of mass at a certain position. We're just suggesting that it's just a point mass and the centre of mass is directly at the centre. Right, so here's a physical length to the pendulum, and then as in the last video I talked about just displacing. So what I'm meaning is displacing in the x direction. Okay, so we displace this pendulum from a mean position by moving it through a certain angle. This angle has to be small, okay? If it's not small, then we'll find that we don't get acceleration proportional to position, but sine of the angle, okay, which is linked to, so if you think this is a triangle, a right angle triangle, x divided by L is theta, okay? So you end up getting sine of this position, okay, which is not SHM. However, for very, very small angles, okay, 10 degrees or less, sine theta of a small angle is approximately equal to the angle, okay? So then this then just becomes the fact that we are looking at the angle is just linked to x over L, no sine x over L. Okay, so that's one thing to take into consideration. This is only true for pendulums that are displaced but through a certain small angle, less than 10 degrees. Right, okay, so because we're going to get an object accelerating, we need to think about the forces acting on this object. And before I do that, when this swings, this will actually swing in a kind of, if you think about an arc of a large circle. So what that means is it's not technically just going horizontally, it actually drops down a small little amount, okay? But I've made this clear in this diagram, but this amount of movement in the y direction is very small. So actually what we're suggesting is that there is only going to be acceleration of this object horizontally, okay? In terms of vertical acceleration, because we're saying it's not really going to move that far, it's not really accelerating vertically, okay? So that's something we need to take into consideration when looking at the forces acting on this object. Okay, I'm just going to now draw a diagram to show what forces are acting, and I've slightly twisted my object because obviously these are in line, so the tension's acting that way and a component of the weight's acting this way, but I've just shifted it so we can just see it looking vertically and horizontally. Now vertically there's a tension in the rope, and because we're saying there's no acceleration vertically, that tension is equal to a component of the weight, okay? If you want to know how I'm getting that component, this is the weight of the object, then you can break it up into two horizontal and vertical vector components. There's the angle at which the weight vertically is to the angle at which it's held, and so this would be mg sine theta and this would be mg cos theta. Okay, so in terms of the tension, that's equal to mg cos theta. Okay, so tension is equal to mg cos theta, because we're essentially saying that they're kind of equal, opposite, balanced. There is going to be no resultant force vertically, there's going to be no acceleration vertically because it doesn't really move that much vertically. Right. However, horizontally, okay, this component, mg sine theta, is causing acceleration in that direction. Okay, so there is an unbalanced force, and it comes from the horizontal component. And what we're going to say then is mg sine theta is equal to Newton's second law, the mass of the object times whatever the acceleration of that object is. So we can cancel the masses. We can also suggest that sine theta for small angles is just theta, and that is going to just equal the acceleration. Okay, and I suggested that not the angle, but looking at the physical quantities of length and how much it's displaced by, theta can be replaced with g upon L. Okay, and then the final thing is to compare this. We know this acceleration is equal to minus omega squared x. So what we've got here is we've got gx over L equals minus omega squared x. And could I just sort of like suggest this negative number would be negative this side, because what we've got is we've got a restoring force, so we've pulled it up a positive displacement, and then it's going to actually be accelerated in the opposite direction. So this really should have been a negative thing, so we'll just cancel the negatives. And so we've got the displacements cancel both sides, and you end up with omega squared equals g over L. Omega, the angular velocity, okay, is also equal to, so omega, just from looking at circular motion, it's got some videos on circular motion if you want to know where this comes from, but essentially that is moving the angle in a full circle, and it takes that amount of time. Okay, so it's kind of like omega is equal to the angle it moves through each second. So I've said, how about a full 360 degrees in radians is 2 pi, and the time taken to do that is the time period. And this is where we get the time period for our equation. So we've got 2 pi over t all squared equals g over L. If we square root both sides, and then if I flip these both around to get t as the subject of this equation, I end up with t equals 2 pi root L over g. Okay, so just to make that clear up here, the time period for a pendulum is 2 pi root L over g. Okay, so just to make this video a little shorter, I'll stop with that's the time period for a pendulum, and then there'll be a follow-up video to do with the time period of an oscillating spring, okay, with a mass on it.